Alright, so now we have the code, so the screen GUI pops up when we touch the soldier, but we don't have the code that says when the button is clicked, then send the player back. Okay, so how are we going to do that? Well, we'll go into the text button, we'll right click it and add a script to it. This time we're going to be using a local script, so because we do want to get the local player. Okay, we want to get the player that clicks on the button, and that's going to be the person who's playing the game right now. So to do that, we're going to use a local script. Go to insert object, local script, and in here we're going to say local player is equal to game.players.local player. And so this is something that you can do, and it will get the player that's playing the game, but you can only do this in a local script. Okay, so that's the reason why we're using a local script. So then we're going to need the warp location. So it's going to be game.workspace.spawn location 1. That's where we want to send him. Okay, so let's save that there, and then down at the bottom we're gonna say script. Let's say local button is equal to script.parent. Okay, and then what we want to do is say button dot mouse button one click, and this button one click is the left mouse button. And that's the one that we want. We don't want the right mouse button. If we did, we would put a 2 here. Okay, so mouse button one click colon connect on button click. So it's going to wait for the button, this one, the text button, to be clicked, and when it is, it's going to run this function. So let's say function on button click. And what we're going to do here is we're going to say player dot character, right? Because we do want the character, right? Let me show you what I mean here. That local player, this local player that we're getting is this guy here. Okay. But what we want to do is warp the character, but we cannot warp the character using the player. Okay, we can warp the character though using the character, this guy that's in the workspace, right? Because that's where the humanoid of the character is, and the humanoid has a position, and we can set that position to be whatever position that we want. So what we're going to do is set this character's humanoid position to the spawn location 1's position. Okay, and so with local player, a cool thing, with any player actually, a cool thing that you can do is just say player.character, and that will give you access to this character given this player. Okay, so that's what we're doing here, player.character, and we're going to say dot lower torso. Okay, because you do need to pick a part of the character. So we're going to come over here. We're going to use the lower torso. You could also use the upper torso, but I think the lower torso is good, right? And you could also use the humanoid root part, but you couldn't use a leg or an arm. If we warped the leg or the arm would just go back to the starting location, but the player would still be where he is, right? We want the whole player to go over there. And so the only way to get the whole player to warp is to warp the lower torso or the upper torso or the humanoid root part. Okay, so I'm going to do lower torso here, but you can use any of those guys. And we're going to say dot cframe is equal to cframe, capital C, capital F, frame dot new, and we're going to say vector3 dot new, and then we're going to say, what are we going to say here? We're going to say warp location dot x, and then we're going to do warp location dot y, warp location dot y, and then we're going to do warp location dot z. Okay, so what this is going to do is send the player to the warp location's location. Okay, the warp location's x his y, and his z. And actually, we need to do warp location dot position dot x dot position dot y. Whoa. Oh, what am I doing? So copy that, paste it in here, and paste it in here. Okay, but there's something wrong with this, because if we do this, then that means the player's midsection is going to be right where the floor is, you know, because this position y is at the floor because the warp location's on the floor. It's part of the floor, so we need to add a couple of studs to the y position. So he warps above the warp location and he falls down onto it. Okay. And I think that's it. So let's go ahead and try this out, see if it works. Play it. We're going to touch the soldier. The screen GUI is going to come on. I'm going to click on the button, and this local script is going to fire. And our player is going to start over there. And he does, right? One last thing is this screen GUI should be turned off. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that right here in this local script. Right? When the button is clicked, we want the screen GUI off. So again, we're going to get the screen GUI the same way we got him previously. Ooh, how's this going to work? It's going to be local GUI is equal to player dot players. I'm going to get my little picture again. Player dot player GUI dot screen GUI. Okay, and when the button is clicked, what do I want to do? I want to say GUI dot enabled equal to false. Okay, so that should turn off our screen GUI. See if that works. Yeah, so there we go, and then we start over again. Okay, so now we've completed the game, it's done, but we do need to program quite a bit of code so that the game is persistent, meaning saves the information of the player, and also kind of keeps track of the score. Okay, and so we'll start that on the second half.